Hi and morning, actually. Lovely sunny day today, isn't it? And welcome to the Adversity Psychologist Podcast. I'm Dr. Tara Quinn Chirillo. And today I have an amazing guest. You've beared with me, haven't you, over the last few months because we've paused our recording. I have Edith Beekis with me. Would you like to say good morning and tell us a little bit about who you are and what's brought you on today?
Hi, Tara. Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you so much for having me here. And so I'm very excited about today because I always love to spread the words about emotional traumas and how important it is to deal with them, how important it is to actually release them, because it's affecting our everyday life, and then it's attracting triggers in our life and then bringing us down, our vibration, bringing in negative emotions. So this is like my purpose, or how can I say, it's like my calling is to actually help people with this and then bring them back to life, bring them back to joy and happiness through releases.
I'm sold already because you are a best-selling author, aren't you? So I'm going to bring that in straight away. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your amazing work that you've done trying to spread this word?
Yeah, so back in 2018, when I first met this technique, which called the Samadhi meditation and the source memory healing, I was really shocked, like how profound and how powerful this technique was for me, for my healing, and then for my physical illnesses and mental issues. And then I felt immediately called to start using it. I went through becoming a practitioner, and then basically I started to use it with clients. And even though I was in the spiritual work and then being a Reiki master and Reiki healer for like 20 years, this was like a profound transformation, and it was really, really eye-opening for me, and third eye-opening especially for me. And then that's how I got into this. And then when I started to, when COVID started, then it's again shifted the whole perspective. Like I used to be like running to people's houses, doing one-on-one sessions, And then when COVID happened, everybody was closed in. So I had to figure out how to do everything online. So that's what I was doing. And then that's when many opportunities came in, like podcasts, like also books, and then all of these things. So that's how I got into the first book, being a co-author in the One Habit for Entrepreneur Success, with some lovely people, most of them from the US. And then the book was published in California. So basically I got in that book, and then I was really happy to meet with those amazing people. And then this book became a best-selling book within a couple of months. And then later, in that year, I already felt the calling, like I need to put out more content, because I've seen people struggling in COVID, and they are putting out questions, on social media, and then they are questioning certain things. They were on their awakening journey, and then they were like, how to do this, how to deal with this, what to do with, being closed in with family members who they don't like, or, certain things like how to ground myself, how to feel more joyful, or it was like they faced more of their struggles because they were closed in. They couldn't just run away from certain situations, so they needed like more instant help. So then I started to write. First I reached out to people and said to them like, I recommend this and that. I was like, I can't reach out everybody, I should write a book. So then that's how I started to write the book, like, okay, no, I can put everything in this book which I want to tell people, So then I wrote the book.
Which is amazing, and it's doing really well as well, isn't it? Because it's been out a couple of years now.
Yeah, so I wrote the book, but it took me a year until I get into the editor, and then eventually it got out, so published. It was published in 2022 eventually. So it took a bit of time, but I was really happy about it, and I got amazing feedbacks. So and then on the healer's journey. So why I call it On the Healer's Journey? It's a coaching book for seekers. So it's basically help people who's on their awakening journey and who start to have the calling to become a light worker, to help others as well, but they still struggle understand their space, like where they are, where they're coming from, where are they heading, and then sometimes they feel doubts, like, do I really want to be a light worker? Do I really want to help others and serve others? Or should I stick to my old job or to my old personality, or should I accept this new lighted personality? And this book actually helps them to stay on track, helps them to do certain techniques to keep them more safe, and then to actually feel them happy in this journey, in this awakening journey, making it more pleasant, being in the cocoon phase.
It's almost like a guide, really, isn't it? Yes. I suppose, yeah. And do you think, because one of the things I noticed during the pandemic is a lot of people were able to press pause a bit. I know a lot of people were trying to, as you say, trying to get businesses online, and, we're in a similar line of work. It's quite hard. Suddenly you have to hit the ground running. Some people were parenting, homeschooling, just navigating all of that. But a lot of people had to press pause, and a lot of people had a little bit more time to reflect on stuff, because there wasn't all of the kind of rushing around. And I'm wondering, do you think that impacted people starting to revise? What am I doing? Where am I going? What are my values in terms of work in life?
It's such a, actually, it was such a, how can I say, it's a blessing. It was such a blessing, because finally people had time to pause, because we have the
absolutely
thriving and the growing. And then the growing part is when actually we face ourselves, our demons, and then we actually acknowledge our shortcomings, and then we see where we can develop more, so that's pausing is so important to do it, like once a week or once a day, or whenever you feel like it, when you meditate daily, that's your pause, that's when you actually start channeling, like how to better yourself, basically, and some guidance. And then it's the same, like when you go on a vacation, you spend some time with yourself, with your thoughts, with just being, because they say we are human being, not human doing. So we should have those.
I love that. Really like that. Kind of, so for you, tell us a little bit about your background then. Did you start off knowing you wanted to do this, or were you in something completely different and have that kind of turnaround?
Yeah, so actually I was a petroleum engineer for 15 years.
Okay. So it's like completely different.
Yeah, then. I was in the oil industry, and I worked as an engineer in a 9 to 5. I also have 2 children. But the truth is that already when I was in university, I started to experience panic attacks. And because I traveled extensively, I loved traveling. And then on one of my travel, when it was actually started or got triggered, and then I didn't know what's happening, so I still had to figure out what's going on, So it's actually panic attacks, because I didn't know that's what is. And then I wanted to get some help, which is natural help, not taking pills and stuff. So that's how I got introduced to Reiki. So already back 20 years ago, I started with Reiki. I started to going on family constellation therapies, extrasensory retreats. So I was already developing these skills and techniques and helping others and learning. And during those years, while I was an engineer, so that was kind of my sanctuary, my hobby, or how can I say. And then after at point I felt like 9 to 5 was like just enough, because I had 2 children. I felt overwhelmed, I felt unhealthy, I was overweight. It was like everything, like I wanted to end it, and then I have more work-life balance, to have more time for myself and for my children. I always had this mommy guilt, like, okay, the job is finished. Now I'm running home to my kids, and then I don't want to go to play tennis right now, because then when I am with the kids, it's like I couldn't figure out.
So real. Really,
and then that's when I was like saying, like, okay, I need to quit this job, and then I need to figure out something else. And then that's what when I did the Reiki Master course, I finished that part, and then I actually traveled with the children and with my husband to New Zealand, because we wanted to relocate, because they said there is work-life balance there. And then we started the immigration process as well. So we went there during like the service knew about us, and then we were looking for jobs and blah blah blah. But then eventually we couldn't find a job. We just had amazing 7 months there, and then again it was a really nice pause, to reflect and then to actually spend time with the kids, and then it was just amazing. And then when we came back home, was a huge shift, because I get into contractor work, not 9 to 5, but with this company. So it was like very easy, because I knew everything and everyone, but I didn't need to provide the same amount of hours in the office. I was free to do work whenever I wanted and who I wanted. So it was like a total shift. And then I always believe that when you take time off and you allow the universe to to turn the wheels, then you actually get into a better situation than you were. And then that's what happened. So I was so pleased, and then I was still doing the engineering work, but then I started to have much more time, because I was already having more space in my life. Yeah, and then I started to explore more things in life, like what else I could do. And then that's when I already started to do some meditations. I got into some social media groups, and then I started to help people with meditations. And then was the time when I met the Karma Guru, and I learned the source memory healing and the Samadhi meditation, and became a practitioner. And it was so powerful how my third eye was opening and receiving the intuitive thoughts. It was so powerful, because that's what led me to London. So that's how I felt like I need to move to London and establish my services. So yeah, that's
kind of, for people who might not be familiar with that term, third eye, you let us know a little bit about that.
Which one?
About the third eye. Some people might not be familiar with that concept. I mean, a lot of people are, but there may be some people listening who tell me more about that.
Yeah, so basically, we believe that there is chakras and energy. We have an energy body, and the energy centers are chakras. And then in our physical body, we have 7 main chakras aligned with our physical body, from the root chakra till the crown chakra. And then one of the chakra is called third eye chakra, and it's connected with our pineal gland. And they always say that the pineal gland is like a portal or a door to your unconscious mind and to your subconscious mind. And basically, when you activate the pineal gland, that's when you start opening your third eye. And what happens when you open this chakra is you start to trust more the process. You become more faithful and a more believer, and you have less anxiety and fear towards the future. So when people feel like very fearful about future and taking risk, and they don't even have intuitive callings if their third eye is closed. So that's when people feel lost sometimes. They say, I don't like the job I'm doing, but I don't know what I want to do. They feel like, okay, but I don't see the way out. I don't know what to do with my life, and so on and so forth. So that's happening when their third eye is closed. And then to open the third eye, how I open my third eye is actually to start doing the Samadhi meditation, practicing Samadhi meditation. And there is a free playlist on my YouTube channel, so everybody can try this out actually.
Fantastic.
And my
we'll
YouTube
put that in the show notes as well for people, so they can click straight on it.
Yeah, it's Magical Karma Priestess, and I have a playlist with about 6 meditations there, and one of them is the Samadhi, and there is other ones for karmic depth release and then for manifestation. So basically, when you work on your third eye, you start to feel like you have more intuitive thoughts, you become more creative, you have more callings, like you feel like which direction you need to go, and then you also feel less and less anxious about the future, and you start to trust more in the process and in other people as well.
So does that mean then kind of just making room a little bit for that uncertainty, and maybe therefore starting to make moves towards that change? Because I wonder how many people maybe start to notice this job isn't for me, or this lifestyle, or something's missing, but maybe they're a little bit fearful or don't know how.
Absolutely.
They start to take those next steps. And I wonder how many people listen to this and go, that's me. Because I don't know about you, but I notice this more and more now on social media, people kind of starting to revise who they are, what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Take that
yes,
next step.
Even though they master some skills, even though they know they are very good at something, they start to have the feeling like, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? Or do I really do I really still enjoy it? Because the truth is, when people talk about what is my purpose, it's funny because you can have several purpose and you can go from one purpose to the next. So if you had a creative job or any kind of job, but you were a creator by doing the job basically, then you had that purpose for the period of time. But maybe you have the next purpose to teach the same skill, maybe, or the next purpose is maybe to do some volunteering work, or I don't know, to have children and then settle and have a family. So it can be different purposes, and there are several purposes in life, one after the other. So we shouldn't limit ourselves to just one thing, and we should be open to actually to change, and then acknowledge that we have several skills, we can learn new skills, and we have so many talents as well. So just going to, for example, my mom, she always wanted to sing on stage, and she was 75 when she eventually started to sing. Yeah. And then she was a teacher before that. She had 3 diplomas in different teaching stuff, like children and speaking teacher and everything. And then eventually when she was in enough peace being alone and then going into the retirement club and whatever, so then that's when she started singing, and now she's invited to certain events in her age group, but she's enjoyed, she's practicing at home, she's full of life. She's 84 and she's still singing.
Amazing.
So it's
taking that plunge, getting used to that. Sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable, that feeling or uncertainty, isn't it? And that sometimes makes us move away from it rather than go, okay, I can do this. And I wonder, have you spoken to her? Do you know, is she glad she took that step, even though she had to make room?
Even she sometimes had failures, because sometimes she also signed up for poetry, saying poetry on stage. And then she was so confident once that she memorized the poetry, she went on stage, but something happened and she clicked, and then she couldn't remember. She had to pause and leave the stage. So even
kind of stage fright.
And then even it happened to her. She's still going back to sing, so it still did not stop her completely. But she said that she's supposed to be more clever, knowing that her brain is not as it used to be, and she should bring a piece of paper like others. She wanted to show up like she's knowing it, but So anyway, about the fear and uncertainties, when we have more empowering, positive thoughts about something, that's our higher self is talking to us. Is like the channeling, those powerful energies. And then when we have the fearful thoughts, like, oh, it's not for me, I'm not good enough, that's your ego. That's your ego, what is limiting you, it's calling you back, is who's stopping you, And then for me, it was so strange. During my life, I did so many things. As I told you, I traveled a lot, and then I moved around in the planet. So every time I was so strongly connected with my higher self that I always followed that message. And then I was already halfway when my ego came in and said, what the heck you doing? And I was like, it's already late, I can't go back, So it's like my ego was late. But I believe that we can create that connection with our higher self, again, with meditation, with some spiritual techniques, even with prayers, So people who's not spiritual but religious, they also have this strong connection with God or whoever they believe, a higher power, basically. And then just connecting to that higher power is helping them to develop this trust and this faith and help them to move on to new directions.
Which is I could talk about this all day. I find this so interesting. I think I'm going to be the first person on your YouTube channel later checking this out, because I do think we're in this age now where I think COVID helped a lot of people start thinking about how we work differently, moving online, doing things. Some people started up YouTube channels. So they have all this stuff that's kind of stored up, but that fear factor just stops so many people. And I just wonder, how many people listening today might be like, that is me, I've got that idea. And you say it's not always about having a complete life change. It might not be about a complete change of career, or relocating somewhere. Those are kind of the big things, but it's those everyday little things. We were just talking, weren't we, before we hit record, that kind of work-life balance as a parent, and just having little bits of time for yourself. And this is really helpful for starting to make room for just the tiny little elements as well, isn't it? It doesn't have to be.
The thing is that why people feel like they are not allowed to do that. They feel like
but exactly,
the pressure of the society that they need to perform, they need to outperform others, they always compare each others to themselves to others, and people has different thermostats and different speed. So that's why we shouldn't compare each other, because we are so unique. Some people,
that's a really good point.
much more time to do certain things, and some people are really fast, and then we need to start to accommodate and have compassion and understanding of the difference in each other, like to know, okay, I'm gonna take that person maybe twice as much, but I need to allow that person to do the thing, because then they don't feel like contributing, they don't feel like significant, and so on and so forth. So the speedy person is supposed to understand the slow ones, and the slow ones shouldn't feel embarrassed or ashamed about they are slower than the speedy ones. So it's like more loving yourself who you are, and then basically allow others also to be themselves, to accepting them as they are. That's really important. And then why they having these negative emotions around this is also could be a childhood trauma. Like when they were a child, people tell them off, like, oh, you are always so slow, or oh, you are not good enough, or you talking bad things, or you talking like stupid things, you are stupid. So if someone growing up like that, maybe they had a brother who told them always that, or maybe they had their father or someone, if they were growing up like that, they have a much lower self-esteem, and they are much less empowered to do anything, in life. So and then that's what needs healing. So when people realize that they get triggered by certain requirements, some pressure, some stuff, then it would be good for them to actually look into to heal that what is the core trauma of this, why I am feeling uncomfortable in certain situations, why I'm getting triggered by certain people's words or something. And sometimes you can trigger yourself with your own thoughts. That's why we say that we are our worst enemy, because many triggers coming from our own thoughts, like wrong assumptions. Like you have assumptions like, oh, if I got into that, what if this happens? What if that happens? So it's like so many wrong, like negative projections about your outcomes, and that's stopping you. And that negative talk, self-talk, is like really dangerous, because that's actually, you create your reality with your thinking, with your talking, and with your emotions. And then that's can also stop you from success, from healing, and from good things.
Because that's a really good point, because sometimes I refer to that as like the inner critic. This really, it means well, because it's basically your threat brain, isn't it, trying to keep you safe? But it can just also be this really unhelpful. It's like a helpful, unhelpful friend that kind of rocks up. Don't do that. You don't want to do this. This is not going to be good. It's going to work out this way. So if people are listening to this, because I'm really interested in focusing a little bit more on the kind of trauma element in terms of the work you do, how do you start to work with that? Because I really love that people are talking about trauma more now. When I first started my career, to kind of get a formal diagnosis of PTSD, I had to meet these really rigid kind of diagnostic criteria. But people are now really rethinking trauma and noticing, trauma can happen from the way you're treated in childhood. It doesn't have to be a discrete, really impactful event, bullying, harassment, all of those things, being continually told you are not worthy or you are not going to amount to anything. How do you work with that? How, if someone was to kind of approach you, how does that work for our listeners?
So there is like a couple of starting points can be here. So some people comes to me with already PTSD. So they had like some traumatic experience. That's the easiest addressing the thing, because, okay, we know what's the situation. But then there is physical illnesses. So now people knows more and more that physical illness has an emotional trauma core, which caused that physical illness. And how is it happening is that actually you had the trauma, then you were triggered later. And then as you get triggered, what the trigger does is you start feeling negative emotions. The negative emotions start blocking the energy centers. I talked about the chakras. So these chakras, energy centers, if they block, the life force energy can't flow through you. And this energy chakras actually completely aligned with your gland system. And then when these chakras are not producing enough energy to your body, then this gland system can be also like start to get some energy loss. So basically get sick, and then the hormones and the chemicals, not going to be produced on a good level. So you start to get sick yourself. And then it depends on like what area of your life is got hit by those triggers. That is defining like which chakra is blocked. and then which part of your body start to get sick. So even some people comes to me like, okay, I have pain in my leg, or I have pain in my chest, or whatever. I know like what kind of emotions they went through, or what kind of issues they most likely go through, because it's connected to this and that. And then so that's the physical pain. And then we start, and then of course the main thing is here that we don't need to figure out like what memory was the core, because the unconscious mind is going to help us. So when we do the samadhi meditation, in the samadhi meditation we transcend, which means we get into a transcendental state where you connect with the unconscious mind, and you can call upon that unconscious mind to help you to collect those memories which are related to your current emotional state when you bring up those emotions, you know. So let's say you feeling frustrated, let's say about this uncertainty, okay? So might you say, okay, I'm so scared to start a new job, but I hate my current job. And then I'm like, okay, how that makes you feel? And then you say, I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I feel useless, I feel, I don't know, unworthy, so on and so forth. So then we dive into these emotions, and I say, okay, how do you feel this sensation in your body? And probably in the stomach area, feeling nervous, low self-esteem, because that's the solar plexus actually. So then we can ask, okay, now connect with the unconscious mind, and then let's ask unconscious mind what memories related to these sensations and emotions. So then suddenly some memories comes to the client, and then it may be from 8 years old, 5 years old, 2 years old, and then we start working with that memory.
So, and you kind of take one memory at a time. Do people do this over a series of sessions, or how does it work?
In one session, we focus on one issue. So the issue was this getting to a new job. Then basically we go one memory to the other. So sometimes it's a 2-hour session with 6 memories. It could be. Sometimes it's only 3 memories. So it depends how many we need to release. We communicating with the unconscious mind to ask like, okay, do we have other memories to release, so on and so forth. So at the end, like after we releasing the negative emotions and replacing it with positive one, and make sure that actually we do the forgiveness part, because this is really crucial. Some people, when I do healing with people and they really went through traumatic experiences, you know, abuse and so on and so forth, they sometimes come to me and ask, how can I forgive? How can I forgive? I just want to forget, not to think about it. But I said, you have to forgive. And then we're going to go through the release. We're going to go through the whole process. And eventually you will be able to forgive, because the forgiveness is not for them. It's for you, for your peace of mind, for your peace to actually not getting triggered anymore, because the closure is the forgiveness. So if you are able to close down that with a forgiveness, that situation, that memory, then basically you're not getting triggered with the same thing anymore. So you're gonna be more, your life is going to become more peaceful and more smooth. You're not going to be on an emotional roller coaster.
So in other words, helping you then to kind of get back to the stuff we were talking before, in terms of starting to make those small changes that could actually lead to really big changes as well. And you were talking before, because in your book is just how you can help other people who also may want to start doing this work as well. Because I've noticed an increase of people that want to train as different types of therapists, healers since the pandemic. And I'm sure there's something there around people just feeling a bit helpless, and also having that time to reflect and thinking about what they can offer other people. It's very compassion, isn't it? Very compassion based. There's a huge evidence base to helping other people for being good for our own well-being as well, which is fantastic. So
Yes.
do you want to tell us a little bit more, if someone's here and they're interested and they want to find out more?
It's so funny, because about 80% of my clients want to learn this technique, because they fall in love with it. They see how actually profound, how helpful. And then they went on so many therapies before, and then it did not help with their PTSD, or they still had certain issues. And then they came to this one and they said, oh, this is something different. This is so powerful. This is really brought me into peace. And so they actually wanted to learn this. So I started to teaching it. So I have a facilitator training, and I just finished. I'm still in the level 3 finishing people now. So I have level 1, level 2, and level 3 in this facilitating training. And this July I did the level 3. So I'm planning to start the next one in January. But of course, I already have people signing up for the January one. So it's gonna be like 3 months again. It's an online, so everybody can join from all around the world. I have people from
Which again is
Malaysia,
great, isn't it? Just that
United States,
connection. Yeah.
and then it's like a weekly classes going on with homeworks, and then lots of online materials to practice on, and basically 1 month is one level. And so this facilitator training is available for everybody. They can check out it on my website. And and then I also do energy healing workshop. That's also possible if someone doesn't feel like working with people on doing this healing sessions, like longer healing sessions with talking, and then with facilitating. Then there is the energy healing, which I teach, which is just using energy healing, like I call it like elemental light healer workshop, because we use elements and then meditations and then source energy for healing. And basically I call it the energy healing more like a quick fix, because that can help you with sudden pains, like releasing headache, releasing physical pains, healing certain illnesses, also, anxiety or stress, but it's not long term. It's going to come back. So I always tell to everyone to combine this source memory healing with the energy healing, because the source memory healing is long-term. It's going to cut it off completely. So when you do the source memory healing, then it's not going to come back. But when you do the energy healing, it's just a temporary quick fix kind of thing. And then you need to return back again. And then you need to, clear your chakras again. And you need to do some healing.
Like that, what I'd call a core shift.
Because the trigger is going to still come back until you can't release the core trauma, until you don't forgive. The trigger is going to hit you, and they're going to always lower your vibration, plugging your chakras. And then that's like continuous clearing, basically.
So one of the things as well that I read about you is just supporting people. So there may be people who've gone through traumas themselves, who then go through work with you, but then want to become somebody who supports others as well, and kind of how I'm just interested in what you said then about, if you're someone who maybe you're not ready to work with other people's trauma because you've got things to work through yourself. So am I right in thinking you've supported people with that journey? To kind of work on their own stuff to help others?
So I have a one-on-one coaching for people who needs to heal their traumatic experiences, and then heal and then feel better about themselves, about their life. So I have the incubator, a 1 month incubator, which is an 8 session, and then also the access to meditation library, and then I have a course, an online course. So that's what is in the incubator. And I have also a 12 months program if someone has less time, and then they can meet like twice a month. Then it's like a 12 months healing journey for them with me, again with the meditation library access and then other things. So in the meditation library, we go even deeper. We're healing karmic debts, we're healing ancestral trauma, ancestral karma, because many times what you are going through is sometimes related to past life things as well. So you can carry ancestral trauma into your life and ancestral karma, and that's what you are suffering from, or keeping you blocked, or keeping you actually stuck in certain situations, these energies. And so the meditation library contains a lot of meditation about that, clearing these unseen blockages, basically. And then also if someone taking these packages with me, these programs, I give them also the source memory healing as a guided healing, so they can continue doing their healing process after these programs, because something happened to them, something new situation, and they're gonna hit by a new trigger. Maybe they meet a new person from past life, like a soulmate or whatever, or maybe they got into a new environment, or something happens, then they got new triggers. And then if they are not in my program or not in my coaching, then how they gonna heal? Then basically they reach out to that MP3 which I send them this, and then they go through the guided healing. So that's also offered to people who's getting into my program. But if they
can do that in their own time, is that right?
Yes, exactly. So, but if they go through the facilitated training just for themselves, for example, the label 1 is already giving them to learn that source memory healing. So then that's also can help them to heal themselves first, basically, and then help others. Yeah.
Because I think quite often now lived experiences are so important in emotional health and physical health. People are starting to talk about their personal experiences rather than just kind of having the older kind of school model of the all-knowing kind of therapists and people that are kind of fixing people. I love this kind of new hybrid model of learning from lived experience, but also people with lived experience then wanting to help others as well, which I just think fantastic. And I just think there must be so many people listening to this now, whether you're on a train going to work or at home thinking about what you want to do. Just, what would your advice be to someone if they are, because I like to always ask people for a little adversity takeaway. What someone sat there now and they kind of know something's not right, they want to start to make a change, but they're just not sure. What would your advice be for them?
If they if they are physically healthy, if they don't have any mental issue, but they feel like lost, or they don't know what to do with their life, or they looking for purpose, to start meditation first on my YouTube channel, basically for the first the playlist. I would highly recommend that, because that's already going to start the healing. This samadhi meditation is so amazing because as it's activating your pineal gland, you start to produce more of the necessary hormones like melatonin, serotonin, oxytocin, growth hormone. So it's already going to bring you to a space where you have more focus, better sleep, you become more compassionate and kinder person, and even have a more vital body. So just doing the meditation itself is going to help you to become better and better day by day, and also to be able to practice more gratitude, more positive thinking. It all comes with it. So it's just like 15-20 minutes a day could already start changing their life.
And that's as simple as literally clicking a button to listen to, because sometimes people can overthink, it's going to be too much, where do I start? And just sometimes there's little micro things. Let me just log on.
Yeah, I had several people coming back to me that they suffer from like insomnia, or they can't sleep well, or they're waking up at night a couple of times. And then after they listened to the meditation, they told me that finally I had a good sleep.
Wow.
So
Which is incredible, right? Yeah. That's incredible. So just, thinking the breadth and range of people. So people listening to this are going to want to know more. Where do we find you? Where do you hang out? In terms of your website and your social media, where can people find out more about?
I'm pretty active on my Facebook and my Instagram. And then also I'm on LinkedIn, and my website is... and my website is edithbeekis.com, where is more information about my workshops and then trainings. So and then I have my YouTube channel, of course, that I'm active daily.
YouTube channel, we'll make sure all of these links are in the show notes, because our show notes are live on this podcast, which is great. So you just click, you haven't got to go start Googling, searching. But your books are also on Amazon and other places as well, but we'll make sure that those are linked. Do you want to hold your book up again just so people can see? Because sometimes seeing the cover is a good way of helping people remember. We'll make sure we do a screenshot of it as well. It's been so lovely having you on. The time's just flown by. And thank you for bearing with me. And look at this gorgeous sunny weather. So I might go for a little walk in a minute. And
summer is back to London.
I'm going to have a little nosy on your website, and later on I'm going to press pause and I'm going to start listening to one of your meditations. And that will be my little me time for the day and starting a new journey. But it's been wonderful having you on. I always end up inviting people back again at some point if you're up for that. It's quite a nice little community on this podcast. We stay in contact, and it's just really nice to be able to support each other, isn't it?